I'm so conscious. We are live. I'm very conscious that last time it did not send a push notification out to LinkedIn, and it's made me very upset. But we are live on all platforms. How are you doing this fine day? I haven't really talked to you this morning.
I'm all right. I've been out in the garden with the kids, to be honest.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yes, I got a LinkedIn notification. Thank God for that. Frankie Hobbs is waving at me. Fantastic. I might actually on LinkedIn today.
So yeah, just the balance of, it's a real balance for me, trying to balance, Michelle's, obviously mainly dealing with them, but they were going to schools, and these, my kids are 2 and 4, so nursery and school. It's not like they're 6 and 8 and they can sort of entertain themselves. Obviously, we're in lockdown, so there's no one coming into the house, so there's no cleaner or anything like that. So there's a lot more to be done. Very much first world problems, but having a 2 and 4-year-old that haven't left the house for 8 or 9 days is starting to get relatively challenging.
Well, I've got 2 housemates, and as you know, they're very similar to having a 2 and a 4-year-old around. So we've got the same problem with the lack of cleaner and the lack of just being able to do normal things and have our normal space. But we're getting through it. But I feel like we talked this morning very briefly about the fact that this is the time where everyone needs to kind of get over what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, and really start pushing on and start doing some things that make a positive change to what will probably be in 6 months' time. And I think in the next week or so, everyone's going to get to that point, and we're just trying to get ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I think it's acceptance, isn't it? That's the sort of stage people are going into now. Last week, the week before, was very much the sort of denial phase of God, no, it won't be that bad. It can't happen. It won't happen. They can't do that. They can't do that. To now, well, yeah, anyone says, oh, we're going to come out of lockdown in this time, people are going, you're crazy, because no one knows. So I think there's been a level of acceptance over the last 72 hours, particularly in the UK, probably last Friday. And now we are officially living in this new world, this new virtual work from home world where, we need to get on with it. That doesn't diminish what we're facing or anything like that. But the world will have to carry on. We all do have to carry on. We have to stay inside. We have to protect the NHS. We have to do all the things that everybody knows, but we also have to carry on, otherwise, when this does eventually end, what is going to be the state of the world? So yeah, I don't think that means, to be clear, that doesn't mean, right, let's go and start trying to make as much money as we can right now by taking advantage of vulnerable people or anything like that. It certainly does not. But it means let's not sit on our hands. Let's do something. Let's try and help somewhere. And I think big brands are sort of have really woken up in the last couple of days of shit, we can do something here, so let's do it.
I agree, and I think our role in this is to help brands navigate that difficult situation that they're finding themselves in. And I think you're absolutely right. I think the brands over the last, I suppose, 4 working days, so right at the back end of last week and rolling into this week, they've got out of their panic time where they're trying to work out what to cancel more than anything else, work out where that budget should be shifting to, and then actually understand that digital and social is going to be the way forward here. And in order to really take advantage over the next few months, and that's not take advantage necessarily from a profiting point of view, but even if it's just to get their name out or even to do good for the world, this is the time to do it, and the time to do it is through digital.
I think it's kind of the only way. For the last, I think we've probably been on a trend that within about 5 years, I would say that most brands would be fully digital before this had happened. Now, if in 5 weeks, every brand will be digital because it's going to be the only way to operate. So, we're going to have, if you work in digital marketing, you're probably going to see a bit of an uptick here. If you work in other forms of marketing, I saw RGA posted yesterday. It's a great Twitter account. They're a good creative strategy agency, and they basically posted that the irony is it's going to have the last laugh because they can't get licenses, they can't produce content, they can't do anything. The only people that can right now are influencers at home. So for any brand that wants to carry on marketing, and my advice would be to every brand that they should, they're going to have to do it through social and influencer. It is literally the only way they can do it now.
So on that point, I want to bring in Liv, who works in our team. She works in lots of the lifestyle campaigns in our team. She's on the front line, has been for the last couple of weeks, whilst we've been kind of working out what we're doing over the next 6 months. But she's been working on things day to day. Bring you in now, Liv. Hello, Liv. How are you?
Hi.
This view, that's a better view. How has the last couple of weeks been in terms of talking to brands? What are clients saying to you in this time?
Yeah, I think, I mean, a good few weeks ago, there was a lot of brands who were obviously pretty worried on what was going on. And I think we've now come to terms with brands are starting to realise, this could be for quite a long period of time now. And it's just how we're adapting and optimising. I think, a lot of brands, we are getting used to it. We're changing messaging every day. Things are changing quite quickly, and it's just how quick we can enforce that. But yeah, I think so far we're just trying to keep brands calm, collective, and making sure that we're hitting their needs as well as still keeping a campaign going as best as we can.
I think the point you make there is about the fact that we have to, or the brands are requiring agencies they're working with or partners they're working with to be fast, and because the world is changing on a daily basis, the requirement for people to be quick with what they're doing for those changes is imperative, and we kind of fit into that more than most.
Yeah, definitely, and it's just we're known for turning things around in an hour or two, so it's just how quick we can do it. If it means we're reacting to what Boris is saying the night before at first thing in the morning, then we'll make sure we can do that. And like I said, influencers are the perfect way to do this at the moment. Everyone's sitting at home waiting for what's going to happen next. So they're the best way at the moment.
There's a new some of the brands that some of some of our large clients that I'm talking to. It's the first time in my memory where they haven't been focused on selling products. Like that's always been the KPI. Even the brand campaigns we've done, ultimately they want to shift product. And I haven't had a conversation about selling product for the last couple of weeks. I've had conversations where they need to do stuff right now because they have to help their customers, their community, their staff, people. That seems to be the KPI that people are driving towards now, is beyond social responsibility. I think CSR has been sort of, we'll sort of show that we can help, but we probably won't do it. Whereas now there's a real purpose behind a lot of these brands, right? The big supermarkets understand that they're operating as a national resource right now. It's not just a supermarket. None of them would want their competitors to go under right now. It would put more strain on them. So, you've got competitors essentially coming together, not just in a sort of we're doing good, but in a actually doing good, physically providing value to people in society. Are you seeing that across the board?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point you made on community. That is one thing that brands at the moment can't get enough of. It's more about how we can help instead of how we're pushing product. At the moment, what's going on, no one's interested in buying anything because no one knows what's going to happen with their jobs. It's more about just driving that awareness. And I think, especially with these supermarkets, that's what they need to be doing at the moment, is supporting each other. It's what everyone needs. Everyone just needs a bit of positivity. I don't know about you, but my screen time has gone up by about 25% this week because I've been on social so much more. And I think that's what more brands are trying to do now, is just spread that positivity and awareness instead of being more forceful and pushing product.
Yeah, I mean, you and everybody else on the planet, you know what I mean? We've all, everybody's glued to their phones, aren't they? I'm sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm sure TV usage is up a bit as well. But they're going to have a bit of a problem in 3 or 4 months' time.
There's a question from Will Grashoff in the LinkedIn comments. I'm conscious that we've got LinkedIn comments. I can't feed in from this software. Liv, how long do you think the novelty from work from home will last? Obviously, we're a company that have recently switched to work from home out of requirement. But there are a few companies that have been doing this for a while, but lots of brands are having to get used to this at the same time as us. How long do you think the novelty will last before it wears off?
Yeah, I think I think especially across brands at the moment, it's so important to try and get into a routine. At the moment, we don't know how long it's actually going to last. I think even speaking to some of our team members, everyone's starting to get a bit of itchy foot, and it's more now how we can keep a routine and how we can keep the momentum going. Like, we're running training sessions and making sure that we're all keeping in touch. But yeah, I think in terms of the novelty at the moment, I think it's nice, the weather's nice, everyone's going out for a walk, but I think in the next few weeks it is going to start and get tough. And it's just how, as brands and as a company as well, how we can keep that momentum going with everyone.
I agree. Liv, it's been a pleasure having you on. I've got a strict running schedule today. After my learning today. And yeah, I appreciate it. And I know you've got something to do. You've got a training session at 12:15, right? With the rest of the team.
I have, yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Right, yeah. So it's clear that
Let me just ask a quick question, Harry. So there's a question here, Finn Jones in the live.
This one?
Yeah, exactly. What do you think will happen with TV when they run out of content? Will they do old shows? It's a very good question. Obviously, Emmerdale, EastEnders, all these guys have stopped filming. I can't see them starting to film again for quite a long time. I suppose it depends on how long it goes on for. There is a bank of TV content that will have already been made in the last 6 months that hasn't been released yet. And so there will be new stuff coming out, but there won't be new stuff being made. Fast forward 4 or 5 months, I'd expect all of that content to have been released and things to start getting a bit more difficult. What I think you'll end up seeing is YouTube-esque shows being put on TV. I saw Joe Wicks is on Sky News. They're live streaming it on Sky News, his workout. So I think that's what you'll see. You'll see the only type of content, forget about the channel, the only type of content anyone is going to be able to make for the foreseeable future is stuff that's filmed at home. So exactly like we're doing now. So I could see a scenario where Graham Norton still does his Friday night show, but it's all done through Hangouts. But it's, that's not really the pull TV has. So I think you'll probably see audiences will just move away from TV and onto social as the quality of content is higher on social than it is on TV.
I agree. I think the UK is going to be, we're so reliant on so many staple shows and shows that have lasted for such a long time, recurring. And, there's lots of things that require a lot of filming. We talked about the soaps, Emmerdale, Coronation Street, EastEnders, they do film ahead. So there is a run time, and they've reduced their output to 2 shows a week, which means they probably have closer to 10 weeks worth of content to go out. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of interesting changes in the TV schedule, and yeah, agreed. It's going to be a lot from home, a lot of hangouts. We're seeing that on the news already. We saw it on the press conference yesterday with Matt Hancock. I'm sure we'll see it again today and for the foreseeable. What I want to do now is bring in our good friend Kyle Pine-James from Singapore. He's in our Singapore office at the moment. We sent him out there about a month ago, 3 weeks ago. And they're in an interesting position, Singapore, and I'm bringing Kyle to talk about it. But hello, Kyle.
Hi, guys.
You're in a weird.
Pardon?
What time is it there?
It is just gone 8 o'clock in the evening.
And what's the state of play in Singapore then? What's your version of lockdown?
Well, it's not in a lockdown just yet. They basically send out a WhatsApp broadcast message every evening. Directly from the government that gives you updates on what the new numbers are, where those numbers came from, so whether they imported or they're local cases, if they were linked in any way and how they were linked, and then advice on whether they are social distancing or if they actually is a lockdown. But so far there hasn't been any mention of that. Apparently about a month ago they had they were in the same position that the UK is now, where they were panic buying and everyone was stressing. And their PM, who does YouTube lives, came out and just said, everybody calm down, stop embarrassing the nation and relax. Just follow us. We'll tell you what to do. And if you follow these simple rules, we'll get out of this. And it seems like they've started doing that. And yeah, you walk around and it's pretty empty. People are still out and about, but they are following social distancing rules and things like that. So.
I mean, of all the places to be able to get through it, Singapore is probably the cleanest place on the planet.
I literally walked past somebody scrubbing the streets with soap and a mop in the middle of the street.
There's virtually no smoking. It's very difficult to smoke anywhere. So, from a lung point of view, probably going to be better off, and they have absolute control over their population. You know, that they tell people don't go outside. People do not go outside, because if you go outside, you might spend 10 years in prison for it. You know what I mean? Whereas, so they've got it's much easier for them to control the wider population than I think it is in other parts of the world. But you know, a good example to follow. Does it feel like that coming out of it there, or does it feel like there's about to be a second wave? Or
well, we had a few days last week where the numbers started to dip, and there were only kind of 10, 15 new cases a day. Then yesterday it spiked again. We got more cases than we've had before. So I don't really know. It changes like by the hour. They are closing down bars and clubs as of tomorrow. So I think that will probably have an impact. But yeah, it does change so frequently.
And also with Singapore, I mean, it's been a bit of a weird start to the year, because obviously you've got New Year, then you've got Chinese New Year, and then Corona in Asia was a lot earlier onset than in Europe. And then you kind of, as a country, came out of it, and then you're kind of coming back into it now, and you know, you're stuck in a hotel room, right?
Yep, exactly. I'm in my hotel room. As I said, thankfully it's not locked down, so I do get the chance to go outside and have a run or walk. But yeah, I mean, I was speaking to the team, and they were saying that people were already talking about this in like January, February. As I said, the panic buying started a lot earlier as well, whereas it doesn't seem to be happening now. So yeah, and the Chinese New Year, obviously that's a long time that they have off, and then now they come back into it. They come back out of it, and they've got to almost restart, and then now they're back 10 steps again. So it's a lot of catching up, but at the same time, it does still feel like it's a lot of business as usual already. We're still having conversations with brands. Brands are still wanting to meet and continue the conversations as usual.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, really. Like, what are brands saying? Like, because obviously, let's assume Singapore is a few weeks ahead of the UK. For people that are working in brands or agencies that are watching this, like, what are people saying from your point of view out in the brand world in Asia?
Yeah, well, I mean, from my perspective, I think there's two ways that brands can go about it. One, as Arron was saying, like, you've got to adjust and not look at this as the short term. You've got to make plans of, okay, if this is going to be a long term thing, then we've got to make sure that our strategy fits to that, or find something that's going to work in this situation. Or the other way is to just kind of keep going with business as usual and still put out your marketing and still speak to your clients or your customers in the same way, not obviously trying to kind of take advantage of them, but just carry on with business as usual. And I think that's the route the Asian market's taken, that they're kind of just saying, right, we understand what we need to do to sort out COVID-19, but at the same time, we also know what we need to do to stay on track and keep having our meetings as normal, keep doing the same processes, so that when finally we do come out of this, then it can just keep going and there's not a big downturn.
Lots of questions in the comments on LinkedIn about students and the people that are coming out of university or college, that are coming into the workforce. This isn't a question specifically for Singapore, and it's both of you. I'll start around. But what do you think the situation is for students that are coming into the workforce right now? What's the impact of this?
Well, interestingly, so when I left university, I left university in June of 2008, so 2 months before the world collapsed last time. So you know, the class that I came out with were all in that situation where, you know, if people were in the year or two above us, they all got jobs straight away, and my year and the next 2 or 3, you know, struggled a bit more. I think that is going to happen. However, I think there's going to be a unique opportunity for young people, because the world is going to digitize at a rate that was unimaginable. You know, I think it would have probably taken us 20, 25 years to fully digitize, and we're going to have to do it in the next few weeks. Right? We're going to have to do it right now. Any brand, any person that isn't a social digital native is not going to be able to operate in this world. The advantage that every young person has is that they are far more likely to be a digital native. The people I worry for are the 45 to 50-year-olds that when this is over, may not be able to find roles that suit their skills, right? Because the whole world, if for the last 2 years you've been sat there thinking, God, social is a bit I don't really understand this. It's a bit out of my comfort zone. Like, you need to get on top of all that right now, because it's going to be 10 times more when, from now, basically. It's not even when this finishes, from right now. If you can't use Google Hangouts, if you don't understand, how to use social, like, you're not going to be able to communicate with people. So I think there's going to be an opportunity for young people, because the world will digitize whatever it is, at a much faster rate. They will have a unique opportunity because they're natives to this. So I think the younger generation will come out of this a lot better. I feel for the older generation, not the elderly, not the group that we're talking about here, but that group between maybe 40 and 60 that have been in roles for the last 5 or 6 years and have been dragging their heels because they don't want things to go beyond them and stuff like that. Now they're going to lose out, I think.
And Kyle, what are your thoughts on the younger generation and the old generation coming into this new way of working, this new workforce that we're going to be globally seeing in the next couple of months?
Yeah, I agree. I think a big factor will be also that your brands that are willing to innovate and change what they do at the drop of a hat, your likes of your Brewdogs, who will just say, okay, we're going to change and we're going to start producing hand sanitizer. Those kind of brands that are just going to say, yes, we know we've been doing this for years, but we're going to change it to suit the economy, to suit what people need. Those kind of brands are going to start to want to hire more people who will naturally want to be more innovative. And that's the thing, that the younger people who are coming out of university, who are coming into the workforce with a lot more, they're a lot more eager, they're more excitable and have more energy. I think those kind of people are far more likely to get picked up by brands, because these brands are now going to want to look for people who are going to think on their feet and be a bit more energetic.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that, right? I've had calls from people in the last 2 or 3 days, basically just being like, what the fuck do we do? I may not have spoken to them for 6 months or 9 months, but they know we understand this space. They know they've got to go into this space right now. And they probably are looking at us because we're young, right? And we're kids, and maybe they've seen us on LinkedIn or whatever. But the number of those phone calls has been staggering, where people, I almost willing to sort of give you the key. We don't know what to do. If you guys do, crack on, sort of thing. Yeah. So, and that's just because so many people don't understand social, and this is all happening on social. Everything, it's not about what supermarkets put on billboards or TV or any of that. It's about how they respond to people's comments on social. It's about what they post on social. That has now become the single most important form of advertising for every brand on the planet overnight. Now, I've been arguing they should be doing that anyway, but now they don't have a choice. So I certainly think there's going to be opportunity there, that brands need to be doing this with the right people as well. You need to be really doing this with people that actually understand. I'm not saying we're the only ones either. There are other people that understand. If you make the wrong decisions on social right now, it'll end up being very, very damaging. We've already seen that. A few people having to backtrack, and that's not a good look. So because it's so powerful, you've got to put the right thing out there. But doing nothing isn't an option.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed. Anything else on that, Kyle, before I'm going to have to let you go and get some sleep in sunny Singapore?
No, I completely agree. I mean, we've always had that conversation where I go in with clients and I say, well, look, I've got 120 plus staff and the average age is 24, and they go, what? And you kind of have to explain, well, no, it's not because we just want to hire young people. It's because these are the people that understand how people consume content and how you need to be speaking to your audiences, because they are your audiences, especially when you're talking about like the gaming industry and the younger industries. It's so important to make sure that people understand that. And now, sadly, the way this is going is it's highlighting that even more. So it's just about really understanding your audience, understanding in this situation how they need to be spoken to, and understand who's the right agency to do that for you.
Agreed. Kyle, it's been a pleasure having you on over from Singapore. We'll definitely get you on over the next couple of weeks as well, as we do this every single day, 12 till 1 o'clock through the lunchtime of the UK.
My nighttime viewing.
Exactly. Perfect. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Right, yeah, lots going on over the world. I'm going to try and see if I can get Nick Cook from the US before the end of this, but I can't guarantee it because it's difficult enough for me to get him on the phone to talk to him about the business, let alone to get him on a live stream, but we will see. Plenty of comments in the LinkedIn section. One from our good friend at LinkedIn itself, Bian, says, as a business in this current environment, what's your advice to the small businesses that are struggling with cash flow in this current environment? What can they do to keep business running? Feel for them. Talking about the probably the 2 to 5 employee local businesses. Let's talk about shops and even small agencies. Like, what should they be doing in this time?
Okay, I'll separate it. So first of all, if you've been mandated to shut, there's very few options that you have. You have to shut. The only thing you can really do there is go down the small business loans or furloughing staff. And do those things as quickly as you possibly can, if that's the situation that you're in. If you're not in a situation where you have to close, which is probably the vast majority of businesses, certainly the vast majority of services, every agency, there's no agency that has to shut. We can work from home. So I've forgotten the question. Just
oh god, that's really testing my ability.
What to do? Yeah.
So small businesses, cash flow, how do they help?
Yeah. So what do they? So if you're not being shut down, mandated to be shut down, then I think you have to make the assumption that this is going to go on for a long period of time. What will kill businesses here is hoping it's only going to be X amount of time, and then it ends up being 2X, because you're basically saying if it's X, we survive. If it's anything more than that, it's over. Don't put yourself in that situation. You need to pivot. You need to accept that this is the world we now live in. Even if we come out of this in 3 weeks, the world will never, ever go back to what it was before. So whatever you were doing before is completely irrelevant, and you need a new way of doing things. So if you have a business that isn't fit for purpose in today's world where we live right now, change it right now. Pivot right now. If you're a production company, don't wait for studios to start opening up again, because that might not happen for a year and you can't survive that long. Find a way to get around it. Find a way to pivot your business to what you can actually do. Now, we're obviously very well suited for a situation like this in that we can all work from home. The production all gets done in people's houses anyway with influencers, but we're still pivoting elements of it. We're still changing elements of it. I'm looking at releasing all of our offices all around the world right now, because I think it might last a year. And if it does last a year, I don't want those bloody offices. And if it doesn't last a year and it only lasts 3 months, we can get new offices anyway. So I think the best bit of advice I would give is don't try and hang on. Establish this is going to be a long period of time, and then pivot your business where it's actually going to make sense during this period, because all those businesses that are just hanging on, I think that they won't make it. I think the only businesses that are going to make it are ones that find a way to make what they offer valuable to the world we live in today.
I totally agree. I think that having spoken to my dad, who went through 2008 running a business, and the downturn that headed, especially for someone who was running restaurants at that time, someone who tried to hang on because it was a difficult time, and at the same time wanted to continue running the business how they used to run the business, and then, got caught short because of it. Having that stubbornness this isn't the time for stubbornness. This isn't the time for emotional attachment to the business you've got. And there is a time that you need to move, and that time is now. So, I totally
agree. The world's changed. So when we come out of this, like 30 or 40% of the businesses that existed before, there will be no need for. So like there's a certain now, but they will have, it won't be there'll be 30, 40% less jobs, because other businesses will be created. Other things will be created. People are going to create tech that does not exist right now that will be as big as Facebook in 10 years' time, because they've used this opportunity to go and create something. So even if one company fails, another one will get created somewhere else that will take that. So there's a balance here between protecting what we have, but also realizing that some of that might not be fit for purpose anymore. And so it kind of does need to go, and something else needs to replace it. Are people going, are airlines going to get back to the rate that they were? I'm not sure they will. I still think people will go on holiday just as much, but I think the number of business travelers is going to go down forever. Like, my likelihood that, like, if I look at the amount of traveling that I've done over the last year, I can't believe how much I've done, and how I've done 3 or 4 day trips for an hour meeting with someone, where like we could easily have done this over Hangouts. And so do I think airlines will go back to what they were? No, I don't. I think they may never get beyond 70% the capacity of what they were before, because I think people's habits will change. So, should we protect the airline industries 100% as they are? To an extent, because we need airlines, but maybe we don't need them as much as we needed them before. And that's going to be the case for lots of other industries. It's just a reality. And I'm sure it isn't what a lot of people want to hear, but that is what will happen. Things will change, new things will be created. The people hated the fact that we had to stop coal mining in the UK, but we had to. At some point you have to change, right? And so it'll be a similar industry change, where some industries will, won't pivot quick enough. There'll be a lot of jobs lost over a period of time, but eventually it will pivot into something else.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to bring in someone who I've had to, drag away from the virtual golf course after a few days, I'm sure, binging the golf course last week. Seb on golf. Seb Carmichael Brown, how are you, my good friend?
Very good, well, I say very good as one can be, I suppose, in this current climate we're living in. But I'm happy to report that myself and family are all healthy, which I guess is all you can really ask for right now.
Agreed. And your business, I mean, for people who don't know, you kind of got two sides of the business, right? You've got the #United side, which is a football team, a real life football team, which was born out of a virtual league. And then a influence and management side of the business, which is obviously the side that we work with you closer on. What are the effects? Let's start with the football side. What are the effects that this has had? Because obviously sport is just terminated for the time being.
Yeah, it's all gone. I mean, so yeah, #United football and esports team. We make content about a real football team and an esports team. We travel around the world and playing in football and playing events. And obviously none of those things are happening right now. So we've massively had to pivot and to create different content that you can make in a safe way. So, for example, we're seeing a lot of things moving online. Fortunately, we are an online company. We make content online. So, and a lot of that is gaming content. So the ability to make that hasn't really changed. Maybe getting people together to do it in the same room is becoming more difficult now, or not possible at all. So we're changing that up. We've been launching a few different tournaments. #United has launched a Pro Clubs tournament on FIFA, which is a really cool game mode that probably doesn't get enough airtime, where multiple players control different players on the FIFA field. And we've got a lot of celebs and footballers involved. We've got Cesar Azpilicueta. We've got Ian Sterling from Love Island, to name just a few. There's some really big names who have been taking part in it. I've even got the controller out myself to have a little dabble.
Wow.
Shocking
out those old controllers.
Yeah, so that's one thing. Spencer, my brother, who also has his own channel, obviously, and makes a lot of content around football. He's been doing a big Football Manager save, which is he's got #United put in the game at the very level right now, and he's going to try and take us all the way to the top using all our real players. So, yeah, different sort of content. Some of it we would have made anyway. Some of it's been more to the front foot. But yeah, it's a difficult world. Spencer obviously does a lot of presenting as well of a lot of these events and other sporting events, all just cancelled. So like everyone else, we've all lost a lot of business. But now trying to do our best to, I really enjoyed what Arron was just saying there about how, because I totally agree, the world will never be the same again. And I've always, something I always regularly talk about is that nothing stays the same forever. Nothing. Death may, but when they say death and taxes, never know. Taxes didn't used to be there. You know, they've been around for a long time, and maybe that is one of the more permanent things. But I believe that the world constantly changes, and what we're just seeing is a seismic moment in our human history that will alter the world onto a new course, never to be the same again, definitely.
And it's up to us to make sure that that's for the better. I think that's the real opportunity for all of us here is, you know, no one can be happy with the world for the last 50 years. Like we're blowing each other up, we're killing each other over pointless shit, we're destroying the planet. We're like, there's, you know, there's a lot of things that we all know we haven't been doing in the right way. And I think this is an opportunity, and I don't mean from a like communist point of view or anything like that. I don't believe in that. But you know, I think we can all do better. We can all look after each other more. Things will change. There'll be much more of a community factor. You know, this has shown better than anything in our lifetime, I think, how everyone is the same. You know, it doesn't matter how much money you've got. It doesn't matter where you live, what house you live in, what religion you are, anything. Everybody is at risk here. So, you know, it's a real unifying factor. If we can use this to to make us all realize that we're all the same, and to get rid of the war and the poverty and shit like that, then, you know, maybe we look back in 50 years and we see this as the best thing that ever happened to humanity. I think, you know, that is what we should all be trying to do now, is just make things better in our own situations. And we do that with small acts of kindness with each other. We do that by making decisions that aren't selfish but are selfless. And, you know, if we all keep doing that, the world will become a better place quite quickly.
So a quick question from you from the YouTube comments, Seb. And you obviously look after lots of different talent in the influencer space. For some people thinking that the advice to stay at home doesn't apply to them, do influencers have a role to play in getting people to heed that advice as effectively the new broadcasters of today?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially when it comes to the younger demographic, you've seen in the last week how, you know, the bit of outrage, rightly so, about a lot of people who are, especially younger kids, you know, around their young 20s, going out and partying still. I think we definitely have an opportunity to educate and to inform and to hopefully actually influence people and their behaviour in a positive way. Although probably from my own personal experience, I'm actually finding it as the generation, you know, of maybe slightly older than what are typically spending as much of their hours on things like social media. I feel like on social media now, you're pretty much seeing anyone named and shamed who's not doing the right thing. So I think that message is very much out there now, and hopefully continues to penetrate. But I do actually think that it's possibly some of the older generation. I read a very interesting article, I think, from an American newspaper about how the baby boomer generation feel like they're basically a little bit immune to this, and feel like they've come from a generation where, you know, there's so much progression, and that they feel that maybe that this aren't taking it as seriously as other people. I do think that's changing regularly now. And I think hopefully it continues to change. But I, for example, it's only until maybe the last week or so that my own mother and father and my own mother-in-law started taking this a little bit more seriously. I feel like they were maybe slower to start properly understanding it. And maybe that's because they're not getting the bombarded that we are on social media platforms. Maybe they weren't quite getting the message like we are. And I've actually found in some cases it's the children trying to pass on best practice to their parents at this point, which is, you know, the opposite of how the normal order of things are.
Really interesting. Well, it makes sense with the channels that are active right now, because you're absolutely right. The kids are all glued to social. So, you know, and you can't log on to any social platform without seeing that message, right? Stay inside, protect the NHS. It's everywhere. It's on the banners of everywhere. So no, it's a really interesting point. I think probably most people see it the other way, but I think you're right. I think actually the kids are pretty well educated here.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. This article, I'll try and find it for you, but it's very interesting about how certain generations just, well, the simplest way to relate to it is my own personal experience. So my father's had underlying health conditions. My mum's got things like high blood pressure, has been in and out of hospital an awful lot. They're people that are very prone. They're also near to the age of 70. My dad's the physio at #United. He wanted to come and, until the games were all called off, which obviously they have been, but a few weeks ago they weren't. He wanted to still be coming in, someone that's at most grit than anyone else, and doing the rub downs and massages on every single player. Now, some of the younger generation could be asymptomatic and not knowing they've got the virus, and he was willing to keep doing that. And I had to literally plead with him, please don't do that. We'll find another physio for a while. He was like, well, you know, it's fine. I was like, no, you don't understand. This is not like a little thing. This is very serious. This is going to kill a lot of people, and you're not immune from that, Dad. And you have to have those sort of conversations. Now, you know, a few weeks later, he's in complete isolation. You know, he's not got any symptoms, but he's just going running with the dog where he lives, and he's inside. None of us are going to see him. We didn't go and see our mother for Mother's Day. But it was interesting how that was me ringing him and my brothers ringing him, and the same for other people in our family, as opposed to normally you have the parents saying, what are you doing going out? Get inside, stay home, get back home, get in the warm, you know, complete role reversal.
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
that's really interesting. I mean, the whole Mother's Day thing, the fact that fell right in the middle of all of this, I think, really, it almost helped it because it initiated that conversation for a lot of people. Like, are we actually going to go and see people or not? How are we going to get around this? Is this something we need to do? Like, that being a family occasion right in the middle almost helped that conversation. I mean, how did you do Mother's Day? I mean, that was a lot of FaceTime calls, Zoom calls, WhatsApp.
Exactly that. We had a big FaceTime video call. Myself, my wife, and our daughter, with Spencer and his fiance Alex, Saunders and his long-term partner Samira, and my mum and dad. We all just did a big 4-way video call for about 40 minutes an hour. Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I mean, I've got another child on the way in just, in around about a month. So as it currently stands, none of my family are going to be able to meet her. You see him, or him. I don't know if it's him or her, to be honest. You're seeing now online people meet their grandchildren through windows of houses. People are having to take their children to outside a conservatory door of their grandparents' home or vice versa, just so they can meet them. And I think that's a responsible way of doing it. But that's it's pretty stark reality when you have to do those sorts of things. But if people are willing to go to those sorts of measures to not even allow grandparents to see new children for their grandparents' safety, most probably, that surely should put into perspective what other people are being asked to do about not going here or not doing that. Another interesting thing to discuss with you guys is a situation I'm in right now with my mother-in-law. So my mother-in-law lives quite close to us. She has a part-time job for a card company. She goes into an office. Her work needs to be done there. Her company have stayed open, but she, as someone who also has health problems, is going into an environment where a lot of equipment is shared around between an office. They work in relatively close proximity. She's now in a position where she has to go into work in order to continue to get paid because she doesn't get sick pay from her company, or she has to put her health at risk. So her company are probably very close to, if not already, losing a lot of their business, but they're right now staying open. It's putting people in really difficult situations to choose between their livelihood and their health.
It's disgraceful, to be honest, for people to be forcing that. What I would say is, my understanding is SSP is now universal for everybody. So I believe that she would get that.
Yeah, she would get statutory. That's right. She would get statutory sick pay, but obviously that statutory sick pay is relative to a number of different things. And the reality is that level of income just simply wouldn't even come close.
No, I get that. What industry is it? It's cars, did you say?
So she works for, I won't name the company, but she works for a business that creates like membership cards for people. So they have, so if you sign up for a membership card of X business, you might get sent out a physical card. She works in the production and fulfillment of those things. So she's doing those sorts of tasks. So there's various equipment that gets passed around that people have to use in order to complete those tasks. The reality is that company will probably lose a lot of its business anyway. A lot of their customers are within the travel sector and leisure industries. So as they are not as busy signing up new members or doing whatever, that will come through anyway. But I've been trying to support her and help her and try and find out what options she has about, this 80% scheme that, the company have got to apply for it. It's a bit of a minefield with regards to what you have to go into. From my very limited research into it in order to actually apply for those things. It's fantastic that they're there, but the reality is it's also new to everybody. Everyone's still figuring it out. Hopefully over time that'll become easier, but a lot of people are being made to make good faith decisions. Like she's taking the decision to not go to work and put her health on the line, and she's putting her faith in the system and her company that when it comes to payday next month there'll be something coming to her, but if there isn't, sure that she's got family around her that can help support her. But a lot of other people maybe haven't got that. So it's one other thing, just on that note, there's a chap I follow on social media, a guy called Chris Carberry, who's a guy from the golf community who suffers with very, very severe cancer. And even before the coronavirus, he does a simple tweet every day that simply says, grateful for another day, day number 22, for example. And as I'm scrolling through my timeline, a mixture of people doing memes and trick shots and companies saying, we're still here for you and all this. I just see his post that just simply a man who's just grateful to be alive still, regardless of what's going on coronavirus, regardless of his work situation, whatever it is. And every time I see that on my timeline, I just get stopped for a moment and just think, you know what? I am in a very select few where I'm in an industry where there is if you work hard and you're fortunate, there is good money to be made. So when harder times come, you're not as vulnerable as maybe some other people in society. And as I'm sitting there worrying about all our own problems with our own businesses, just to maybe just recap and think, you know what, my goodness, this is tough. And yes, I'm not happy about this. I'm not happy about that. But goodness me, could it be so much worse? And it is so much worse for so many people. So one thing, to answer a bit more of your earlier question, one thing I think influencers could do really well is help get out there just how many volunteering roles there are in the NHS right now. They're looking to grow 250,000 volunteers. That doesn't have to be people going out there and putting themselves into public situations. It could be as much as manning phone calls or helping with certain deliveries of things. So that would be one thing I think we could do, is to make people aware, because I'm going on a bit here, so I apologise. But one thing I do really think would be fantastic is if we are looking for a breakthrough. We know a vaccine's a long way away, but one test I think could make such a difference. If there's a test that can see whether you have any natural immunity, or a test that could show whether you've already had the disease and effectively get a little green light above yourself, and that allows you basically to go back to society and to start working in the economy, or start doing things like volunteering, or putting yourself in the risk in doing jobs and tasks that maybe you are in your health would be at line if you haven't got that immunity. If there's someone out there that can develop that test and get it out there to as many people as possible, we could start reintegrating on a bottom up funnel sort of way of doing it. That's the one thing I'm hoping one day to wake up to. Some genius that's out there. This is the moment in the thriller movie, guys, where the mad scientist who's been put in prison, wrongfully accused of something, and the government break him out and say, "We need your help. You've got to help us do this." This is the moment for that hero to stand up and develop something like that.
No, I agree. They're going to have to do that for NHS workers, right? Because you can't have the whole, when they're ill, you've got to stop them going in. So the testing that they'll need, and do they have the antibodies? Have they had it? Have they not? Hopefully, it's going to get developed because they really need it from a health worker point of view. They can obviously flow out into the population. But listen, I think it's a really good point. It's a great point around perspective. I've spoken to a lot of business owners who are nowhere near as distraught as you would expect them to be. If we were the only people in this position, I'd want to kill. Like, I'd be so stressed out of my mind. But everybody's in that position, so to an extent, it is what it is, and you have to see the perspective. I'm fully aware there are people in much worse positions than us, both personally and from a business point of view. And I think having that perspective is really important for all of us. And so, a really good point. There are people that are literally fighting life and death here. And so, whatever fight you've got, whether that's, even if it's, I don't know if I'm going to get paid this month, like, try to have perspective. The government are making it very, very clear that they're going to look after people. I would be absolutely shocked if huge swathes of the population get let down here. I'm sure a handful of people will slip through the gaps, and then it's up to the community to help those people. But I think the government are going to take care of a lot of it. And I think we all need to have perspective. It's critical.
Seb, I was under strict instructions from you to kick you off before 1 o'clock so you can do a call. But I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. It's really good speaking to you guys. If I'm sure there'll be a lot of opportunities to all discuss things like this. I mean, I'm not an expert by far, but I sometimes find it quite therapeutic just to maybe get out all the jargon that's in my head, all these thoughts that are being formed, all these ideas or concerns or things, just sometimes to get them out there, if nothing other than just getting off my chest. I find really helpful. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, man.
Hopefully
on the golf course for sure. Hopefully when they open back up. That was Seb, Carmichael Brown, Seb on Golf on YouTube, founder of #United. Yeah, really interesting. Interesting talking about the reversal of roles between sort of younger generation and old generation in order to inform. I think that's a really good point. We've kind of taken for granted that our parents look after us as until we have to look after them, and we're in a situation where, because we're potentially the more informed generation through social media, through our ability to consume news and information, actually we need to help the old generation in order to understand the severity of this.
Completely agree. And I think there is a responsibility on anyone with a following. It's why we did what we did yesterday, and we haven't got a following like #. But I think everybody with a following should be talking about this to their audience.
Right, I'm going to be bringing in one final guest. We're on the 49th minute. We've got a decent amount of viewers on LinkedIn and people joining us on YouTube as well. So thank you very much for joining, or if you're watching this back on a playback, thank you very much for watching to this point. I'm about to bring in Hannah and Tom, who both work for us, who live together as well. So let's see how they're coping with each other's company in this tough isolation time. Hannah and Tom, welcome, and try and get you in a better position. Here we go. Look, there you go from your front room.
Oh.
Hello.
It's like being
So you guys have got a sort of, I don't know if it's an advantage or a disadvantage, because you're probably, getting sick of talking about the same things. But you guys obviously both been at Goat for a long time. You met at Goat and are together and have been for a while now. You don't actually work together day to day, particularly. So you'll be doing completely different things. It's not like you're working on the same things. How are you finding it working from home? Are you arguing about who gets, the space with the best Wi-Fi? Like, how are you practically doing this?
I think, to be honest, we've got quite a good routine. In the morning, we'll go in the kitchen and we'll both be at the dining room table. And then we kind of go between the lounge and the kitchen throughout the day.
Yeah, but as we have calls, we separate, and then sometimes Hannah will be on a call and I won't going to sit in the kitchen to do my call, so I'll go in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Then you finish your call, go into the kitchen. Like, we just rotate rooms, but I guess because we're not working together, then come the end of the day when we go and sit down, we haven't been talking all day.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't actually been talking for the whole morning, really.
No.
I think sorry, Arron, you go.
Sorry, Hannah. How are you finding separating work and sort of just life and sort of fun? I'm struggling with that, but for me it's a little bit easier. Sort of, when I'll get to a point, Michelle will done with the kids, and sort of we come together. But you guys are doing the same thing. So how do you get to the point where it's like, right, no more work?
Yeah, I was finding that hard on the first few days because I felt like work was seeping into the evenings even more, because you just still have your laptop open and you're like, right, well, I might as well just quickly answer this email because I'm here. So the other night I was like, right, I actually have to switch off. Otherwise it just feels like work and life merge all into one.
I guess dinner's been a separation for
Yeah.
that. When we go to cook dinner, sometimes we'll do like a little exercise routine, but like, that's normally been the separation. At that point, it's like, okay, fine, that's our end of our day, and okay, we'll still be online for anyone, but that's typically the moment. It's just odd not having the commute, not having that genuine separation from where your workspace is to then where you end up sitting in the evening.
Yeah, I think going in the garden, we're lucky we've got a garden. So
amazing,
yeah, we can actually go and sit out there, make use of our garden furniture finally, and also just have a little walk outside. I think that's important to separate your day. Only one.
Yeah, once. Yeah.
How are you staying in touch with other people? Obviously with work, you've got virtual calls, but you've obviously got different friend groups. Like, how are you staying in touch with people outside of work, outside of family, like just general friends? Obviously, we've seen House Party, the app, have a huge upturn. Yeah. There was a comment here from Scott saying, well, what growth House Party has seen over the last couple of weeks. I mean, I'm expecting that to have seen a huge amount of downloads as people can interact and play alongside being able to talk. But how are you actually keeping in touch with people in your friend groups?
I think so. The other day, the girls on my home group chat, they put all their usernames for the House Party thing, and I think we're going to try it out. But apart from that, just FaceTime with family. And Tom, I think the Xbox.
Yeah, with the Xbox, yeah, that's been our ways in the evening, all on Call of Duty or on Madden or whatever game everyone's playing. But on Friday, actually, we broke out. Everyone joined a hangout and we all had a drink, which was quite nice. Like, I wasn't sure how it was going to work. I wasn't sure if it was all going to be shouting over each other, but that was actually quite nice. It was like a non-work related hangout, which was good.
It's really interesting you say that about gaming. Sam Fowler said that yesterday as well. And I think that's a communication channel people probably just forget about, right? But actually where a huge number of people are talking to each other is over the within the technology that's actually part of these games. He was saying about Minecraft, where they're going into, I think it was Minecraft.
Warzone he's talking about.
Warzone, yeah. You go into virtual rooms and then you can go into Hangouts based on that, which is really an interesting bit of technology for the non-gamers out there. Probably sounds a bit strange, but it's essentially Google Hangouts within.
I think also the dawn of cross-platform as well has really, really helped that. Now we're in a position where with the gaming world, you can play and talk to people across multiple different platforms. So the Xbox can talk to players on PC, can talk to players on PS4, which wasn't a thing a few years ago, and now is a thing over the last years, has become incredibly important as people have lots of different consoles, especially because consoles haven't released new versions until later this year. Actually, people have got consoles they've had for 3 or 4 years. They're probably getting the most use out of than they have for 5 or 6 years. So
you play on it way more now than before, but I guess it's because you've got time. You're not commuting back home, so you've actually got that time to spend on doing things that maybe you wouldn't do. I've been reading way more, which is something I said to myself I'd do more of this year, and actually having that time where I'm not commuting or getting ready in the morning for so long, I can actually sit in bed and read for a bit, which is nice.
Yeah, I think no sport gives a lot more time as well.
Yeah.
The weekends are a lot freer when you don't have to focus it around that.
Yeah, that is odd. Is that kind of gives the week a bit of structure, but normally anyway, like a lot of the campaigns revolve around that. A lot of just our interests, like especially me and my group, like my friendship group, like that is like our main interest. So it's very odd not having that to at least fall back on. Because normally, let's say I was ill and I was off for a week, I'd typically be watching that in the time that I had off.
In terms of clients, I mean, both of you work with clients that we can't talk about specifically, but both of you work with clients that and different clients that have seen an uptick in usage over the last few weeks due to this situation. What are brands that you guys are working with? We were talking with, I think it was Kyle and Liv at the start of the stream about what brands are saying to people that are working in the campaign team in the agency about the situation, how they're looking to deal with it. Like, what are people saying to you? Start with you, Hannah.
I think the main thing is just being sensitive to the situation that's going on. So we've actually changed up some of the messaging used in influencer content. And I think as well, social media is definitely becoming more of that escape mechanism for people. They're going and watching content because that's what they're used to seeing. It brings a sense of normality. And so this is a conversation we've been having across lots of different clients this week, especially because I think the panic is kind of slowing, and brands are realizing they can still put messages out there as long as we are being sensitive. So for me, that's the main conversation I've been having with a lot of the clients this week.
I guess like the first few days, clients were very, very wary. No one wanted to be that guy that was benefiting. And I think now it's kind of been a bit more accepted that like this is going to be how it is for a while, and brands are going to have to survive. I think like anyone that's getting frustrated by any of the supermarkets, for example, for doing advertising at this point, then like you've misunderstood why they're doing it. Like if they completely shut down, like we're going to lose a lot more businesses as a result. Someone's going to have to benefit at this time, and I think we're seeing that with our clients, like all the delivery services, all the sort of digital publications, all the people that offer an online service as a normally as an alternative to something you could do in person. Like now, like seeing a huge spike in people wanting to take part. Even courses, like I imagine people want to learn languages. I'm sure they're really thriving right now just because of people have that time.
What do you see? I saw BTS, the huge South Korean boy band. Have set up, I think, a website or a service that is basically to teach their fans Korean during this process.
Wow.
So it's just a language program, but it's fronted and all done by BTS guys because they know everyone's got time, you know. But really cool. You imagine if they can get 5 or 10 million, non-South Koreans to learn that, they'll be fans forever.
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff that seems to be doing well, though. It's people that are offering something outside their normal remit. People offering, whether it's free content or free, I don't know, stuff to certain types of people. I saw like Pret obviously offering free meals, and I know a few others have copied on the back of it. But that's the kind of thing that in the long run is going to massively impact those businesses. It may not necessarily be something they're normally all about. They may not necessarily always give out free food to certain groups of people, but certainly in the long run, it's going to be something people remember them for.
Yeah.
I just think they have to do. Sorry, Hannah.
No,
I just think they have to do something that's positive for their consumer group. I think for the last week, everyone's been thinking, "Oh God, if I can't give the NHS ventilators, I shouldn't say anything. And if I can't make antibacterial wash, but like we need other things than that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
We need to protect that. But if we've got
that's why
people, go on.
There's a real sense of community online as well, and especially through influencer channels, they've got that community anyway, but you feel it now more than ever because everyone's coming together, everyone's in the same situation. So actually putting a positive message out there in line with the brands that you're speaking about is well received at the moment, even more than it would be usually, I think.
Exactly. I mean, I think what Joe Wicks is doing, and he's always been doing it, right? But I would argue that his contribution to the country right now is fairly high. You know what I mean? Right? And he's not helping NHS people or anything like that. But, you know, there'll be 1 million children and therefore 2-3 million parents, 2 million parents stood there, thinking, thank God that's half an hour taken care of. You know, those little things are actually really valuable at this time. Entertainment is really valuable.
Of someone that is taking advantage of the situation, but like spinning it in a way that benefits people. Like he could have quite easily done the exact same thing and slapped a £5 or £10 fee for people that wanted to do it, make it a subscription. And he'd have got some people signed up and made some money now, but in the long run, he'd have been remembered as that guy that made money from this bad situation. And
exactly.
It's an opportunity cost, I guess. Like.
Exactly. But I mean, I don't think that, I think brands should be talking to him about that, right? Yeah. But they need to do it in a different, it shouldn't just be let us go and slap a logo and a discount code up. But, brands should be supporting that, they should be then giving to their audience, out the back of it. That's where everyone is. Why not do it? I think people have been scared for the last 2 weeks. Oh, I don't want to do the wrong thing. But, if you're dealing with medical stuff, you need to be very careful and you need to be doing the right thing. But apart from that, you need to do what you're good at. And if you historically, if you're a DJ, DJ. If you're a lecturer, then lecture. People should keep doing what they're doing in just a different format, and the habits will change. People will just get used to this digital world.
Definitely, I agree.
Guys. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you coming on. I know you've got a lot to get on with. So yeah, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, he's right. It does feel a bit like this morning, calling all these different people into webcam view. I was watching Martin Lewis do exactly the same thing this morning on Good Morning Britain.
Oh, really?
What are you watching? Are you watching Sky News? Like, what's your?
I only watch Sky News. Yeah, and to be honest, I'm watching it on my iPad or my phone or my laptop in general. I'm trying not to put Sky News on in the house, particularly because I've got the kids around. I don't want to be sat there watching news like that. So I tend not to put it on the TV. To be honest, we haven't really watched much TV yet. But it's just, because we're just busy. But
yeah, and the only thing that I'm breaking for is the press conference at about 5:15, because we seem to get a decent amount of information then, and then all the fallout from that in the hours after is quite interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, I think we've done our hour. Thank you to everyone who's watched. We had success of LinkedIn Live today rather than yesterday, which it didn't send out a notification. So we appreciate everyone who's been here for the duration on LinkedIn Live. Same goes to the people who watch again on YouTube. This full video will be up on our LinkedIn channel, but you're probably better off watching it on YouTube in full on the Go Agency YouTube channel. We also have loads of other content. We post a daily vlog every single day. on there and on our LinkedIn channels every single day. Yeah, this will be daily, 12 till 1. We'll try and fill your lunch hour whilst you're doing other things, whilst you're eating your soup and your bread. We'll be here chatting shit about the whole situation. Hopefully we'll be able to find lots of different people to have lots of different perspectives. I think today's was quite interesting, lots of different people's perspective. I think getting Carl over from Singapore's fascinating to see what situation another country's in currently. I thought Seb made some fantastic points, and yeah, on the whole, very, 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 very interesting. So yeah, thank you very much for watching again. We'll be here again tomorrow at 12 o'clock UK time, and by the sounds of things, 8 p.m. Singapore time. And yeah, we will see you tomorrow.
See ya.